think everyone's asleep in the house. Oh, okay. So you know how I said that we shouldn't be contentious and we shouldn't judge and we should do a lot of investigation and blah blah blah. Oh, and then this happens. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about something here that will probably be going against what I said in my last video. Now, we were privy to some inside information with The Chosen, but somebody brought up a really good point, and I think I should bring it up to be straightforward, honest in this whole thing, right? And that is that if a cameraman or someone, an employee, had a swastika, you know, the Nazi symbol, and just had it hanging there, or some other, you know, universally offensive sign, would we all go, well, you know, we don't know where they're at in life and we just have to be, you know, understanding and blah blah blah? Well, I think that was a great point, and so I get it. And I think the reason why so many people are so quick to pounce on these issues is that we have just been inundated with it so much that as soon as we see something, and if you're awake, not woke, but awake, not awoke, but awake, you see these things and you just go, I'm not dealing with that. So I get it, and and so here I am. I'm going to be talking about this issue again in a little different light, but more news comes up. Okay. I gotta be so careful on this video, but we have a young man named Charlie Ward. Not Charlie Ward. I knew I was going to do that. I watched Charlie Ward. Charlie Bird, a young man. Charlie Ward is not a young man. Charlie Bird, a young man, who was Cosmo, which, if you don't know, Cosmo is the mascot of the BYU Cougars. He's the one that puts on the cougar costume and is pretty athletic and acrobatic and all that kind of stuff. Gymnast kind of person. So Charlie Bird, if I make a mistake, just know that it's just me. I'm sorry, but Charlie Bird was Cosmo, and he came out as a lot of, seems like people do, real similar to David Archuleta, and pronounced his gayness. So he then published a couple of books, and or wrote a couple of books. He didn't publish them. There was a publisher, and it wasn't Deseret Book. I had to do a little research on this. Harper Collins or something like that. I can't remember. Maybe not Harper. Something Collins, I think. Anyway, they published his book. Now, two books, I believe, but both about, one was more of a personal thing of him expressing his same-sex whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, but attraction. Deseret Book picked him up like that. And this is what happens when this kind of crap happens. So it has, if you go on Deseret Book, if you go on Amazon and see his books, 5-star reviews. Oh, I just love it. Oh, he's just, it just makes me feel so good. All positive reviews, blah, 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 blah. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. Even with people that subscribe to this channel, I definitely don't get 100% positive reviews, 5-star reviews. It could be, not only my topic, how I present things, my position on things. You're not going to get that. So right off the bat, that's all fake. It's all fake. But whatever, 5-star review. Oh, so wonderful. Read the comments, So he gets his book. Well, here's where it gets complicated. Here's where it gets really, really complicated. And I'll tell a personal story about this in just a second. But the complication comes from her name is Emily Freeman. We would call her President Freeman, as she is the president-elect. she's been sustained as the new general young women's president, and she will be taking over, I think, in the 1st of August. That's where they do all these changes, is after the month of July, or many of the changes. So Emily Freeman has the YouTube channel with I think his name's Butler. I can't remember for sure, but they have Don't Miss This, it's called, and they do a Come Follow Me, and they sell all their shiz at Deseret Book, everything. They, they're in it 100%. And I've listened to it a time or two, and personally, it's not my taste, but whatever. I was a bit surprised, to be honest, that they called her, but whatever. I'm sure she's a great person. I don't know her. I don't know anything about her. Now I know a little bit more about President Freeman, because she was a huge, and is perhaps still, we don't know, and I'll get into that in just a minute, a supporter of Charlie Bird, this BYU alum who came out as gay, as a, flies, mosquitoes, something, and then at BYU, and BYU's policy is you can be gay in the sense that you can have these attractions for the same sex, but you can't act out on it publicly anywhere, or I think even privately as part of the honor code if you're on campus area. Otherwise, you're not obeying the honor code. So he came out as a student there. He graduated, and then he came back after he had come out. He came back to do his master's, and I don't know where that all sits, if he finished. But he met the love of his life. He got down on one knee. He posted it on Instagram, I believe. I don't have Instagram, so I had to kind of see it, just a clip of it, because then you have to subscribe or have it, and I don't have it. But anyway, it basically made me want to throw up, but that's just me. But he got down on one knee, and the love of his life, he's the only one that understands me, blah, 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 blah. He's the one that made it public. He's the one that puts out books. So here's my justification for this kind of thing, and I'll get back to President Freeman here in a minute. But once you put it out there in a public forum, it's no longer contentious, in my opinion. It's no longer a situation where it's something to avoid. If you see something that's put out in a public forum, which any social media is, or any book would be a social media as well, then you subject yourself to that criticism, me included. And it's taken me some time to figure that out, because when I first started this channel, I just figure, well, only people that would agree with me would listen, and so I'm never going to have any opposition. And then you get it, and you're like, wait a minute, how dare you? And then you realize, well, I'm the one that's putting it out. If I didn't want any opposition, then just keep my mouth shut and don't do this. So I get it. It's still, sometimes you still get I'll fight back and whatnot. But to me, that is not contention. If a public figure, a politician, a school board, a county commission, if they come up with things that you disagree with, you have every right to go, excuse me, I totally disagree with what you're doing here. That's not being contentious, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I think we misinterpret that by applying it to everything. So I'm not into personal attacks. If somebody's just kind of minding their own business, but it is their business, and they, they either do it with their own home or their own business or their own whatever, you know what? It's a free country. Well, used to be, but people should have their agency and their freedom to do that, their liberty. But then if they try to impose it or push it or publicize it, then they're open, in my opinion, and that is not contention. So maybe it's just my justification for this, but it's out of hand. So if you're going to publish books in Deseret Book, if you're going to go to a school that has an honor code and it's a private school, then and yet you're still going to speak out on this, then you're in a different situation, in my opinion, where people can say, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. So in doing a little investigation, President Freeman has done firesides, has promoted this guy, talked about him, thinks he's awesome, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's she going to do now? Do you support or agree or affiliate with any groups or individuals whose teachings or practices are contrary to or opposed to those accepted by the church? Now, that might not be the exact way it is said now, but that's how that was the question that used to be said. My feeling is that the alphabet that we're all celebrating this month is one of those organizations. In its very definition, it is an organization that does not agree with the doctrines of the church. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Now, you can say people have feelings this way, or they have tendencies this way, but they don't act out on them. That's the typical avenue that justifies this kind of stuff. But it's gone way past that, guys. Come on, let's forget that. That's just a joke. That's a joke. What these people want outside and within the church, this organization, they want, full autonomy. They want to do and be everything that anybody else says and does, and without that, they're just going to keep fighting. And we're going, no, marriage is ordained of God, and marriage is between a man and a woman. And so here you have marriage with Charlie Bird between a man and a man. Now, if any of you think that two dudes aren't going to do the wild thing, you probably need to get a little more of an education. Now, I'm sure there's some celibates out there, but boy, would they be the exception. With dudes, it's all about the physical, and that's just nature. It's the way it is. Two females together, yeah, there might be a little bit of an argument there, but not with dudes, in my opinion. And having had some training in this as an ecclesiastical leader and others, going through courses, going through things, having life experience in with individuals that are going through this and done this, typically dudes have a hard time with the non-contact football flag. They don't play flag football. Let's just say that. Oh, it's not funny. Okay, like I say, there's just things that pop into my head. But so how does the almost general president of the Young Women's, how does she deal with this now? She's supported, she's spoken out, she's done all these things for Charlie Bird in promoting him. Deseret Book has done tremendous things, huge things in promoting his books, particularly the one about not wearing the mask anymore. So it's a play on wearing the Cosmo head, and also him coming out, if you will. Very clever. Promoted it, 5-star reviews, everybody loves it, it's so wonderful. And now he's going against the very organization that supported and sustained him. So what's going to happen with President Freeman? Here's what I think, and I'll probably be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but here's what I think. I think the Public Affairs Department and the attorney and McConkey, and I can't remember the attorney firm that represents the church. I used to know it by heart when I was a mission president, because they got involved in things that some of our missionaries had done. So I'd get a call from them. Dang it. Anyway, you guys will know. You'll put it out there. But I bet you anything they've already contacted her, and particularly the Public Affairs Department, and they've been coaching her as to what to say, and in particular what not to say. Now my guess is there will be nothing said. So this is where I could be flat out wrong. If she says anything, it's not gonna bode well for herself. So if she continues to support him, that's a slippery slope, because he's now gone against everything, with what the church teaches. He's gone against it. And so that wouldn't bode well for the members of the church, who are like, what the heck is going on? They would go, okay, I'm done. If the General Young Women's president is still supporting this kind of stuff, this does not make sense to me, and that could be a disaster. If she goes against him, then she's going to have every alphabet soup person attacking her and the church. If she does. So she is in a really, really awkward situation, because she went out on a limb and she supported this. And this is what happens. Okay, so I'll tell you, for instance, two for instances. And I think I've mentioned this maybe both of them before, but maybe in different context. But one was, we were, when Sue and I presided over a mission, we were in the Salt Lake City West mission, and there was this big push always to focus. It wasn't. They used target for a while, and then they said we can't use that word anymore. So okay, fine. So we focused on the Hispanic community. We had tons of Spanish-speaking missionaries. We had 2 Spanish zones. We had really a focus that was told to us to do. I was asked to replace a counselor that I had who spoke Spanish, but his skin happened to be closer to the color of me. And replace him with a native Spanish speaker that had skin color different than mine. Maybe more of what I have in the wintertime versus like right now. If you get my drift. So I was like, what the heck? Anyway, along that same time, they had the downtown Salt Lake and the Public Affairs Department had asked and received an okay from David Archuleta to put on a big kind of missionary to the Hispanic community program presentation. And it was going to be at the conference center, big deal, invite everybody, and this is just going to be a huge deal. Well, you had to have tickets, but the tickets were free. But you had to have tickets. And there were like VIP tickets. And Sue and I received 2 VIP tickets. Well, I wasn't particularly interested in listening to David Archuleta, and I didn't really want to go downtown. Usually exhausted come evening time. Missions are amazingly exhausting. And so we had 2 sister assistants that were both Spanish speaking, and really great sisters, awesome sisters. And we said, hey, would you guys like to go to this? And they were like, yeah, David Archuleta, blah, 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 I hardly even knew who the guy was. So they go. Well, come to find out, this VIP table, you were with general authorities and their wives. And so we didn't show up, which gave us a black mark. But we had our 2 sister assistants there, and it was pretty comical. But this public affairs group that also aligned with a group within the mission department that was both ecclesiastical and employment of the missionary department, employees of the church. They teamed up together for this. And they put their eggs in a basket of David Archuleta. And I'll mention his name out publicly because he is a public figure, and he's done this. Well, look where that turned out. He really doesn't have anything to do with the church anymore, and neither does his mother. That she kind of followed in his footsteps and supported him, and he's personally, from what I see, it appears that he's not in a good place with the church right now. So these are the kind of things that happen when we try to utilize individuals because of their fame or their identity for a period of time to promote something, to be more inclusive, and to reach out to more people. Dangerous, in my opinion. Dangerous. It should only be about Jesus and his restored gospel. That is it. That is it. And the aspects of the restored gospel: Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, living prophets, priesthood keys restored. That type of thing is the only thing. And as soon as somebody identifies as something else, and here with Charlie Bird, unlike David Archuleta, who came out later, he comes out first, and it's embraced. That identity that has nothing to do with Jesus, nothing to do with the restored gospel, is embraced. You're going to set yourself up for trouble, I promise. And now the church is in a precarious situation because really of what, as much as what President Freeman has done, as much as what Charlie Bird has done. Because in a sense, as if Deseret Book not publishes you, they didn't publish. If Deseret Book is selling your book and promoting your book, then in a sense you're representing the church, right? And then if you are in general leadership and you've supported this person, then what do you do? It can make the church look bad. It can make all kinds of things. So this will be a very, very interesting thing to see what happens. Now, I'll tell you another personal story about the Public Affairs Department and how things work. So Sue and I attended a meeting with other mission presidents and with their wives in Utah. And an apostle, which I will remain nameless, gave this awesome training to us. And he compared Salt Lake City to the Alamo. And You know, I love the story of the Alamo. I've been to the Alamo. You know, I've smelt it. I've breathed it. Now, I'm not a historian on the Alamo, but I what was it, something Travis? No. See? Anyway, the young man who was charged to protect and defend Texas, and the stand came at the Alamo, and he drew, he had a sword, and I'll just say Elder so-and-so of the 12, you know, you draw the line in the sand and the dirt, and you say, who's with me to defend this? And you have the likes of Bowie, I think it's Jim Bowie, the inventor, or the made famous the Bowie knife, the big knife. You had Davy Crockett, you had other famous individuals, and I think it was Jim Bowie who was sick, and he had guys carry his bed across that line to show, you know, I'm here. And what this apostle was teaching us was that Salt Lake is basically the Alamo, and we have to make a stand in Salt Lake. That in you know, he talked about certain government leaders within Salt Lake community that were like, what the heck are we doing having somebody like this elected that does not represent the church, does not represent the values, does not represent the doctrine. And you know, basically we're losing the battle. And now the Battle of the Alamo was lost, right? But later conquered, right, by Sam Houston, was it? And they went down, and was it Santa Ana? Gosh, guys, come on. You know the, yeah. Come on, man. You know the thing. Sound like Biden. Anyway, the story is awesome. It's awesome. And he was comparing that. This apostle was comparing that. Now, look, I'm pretty sensitive to know, you know, what to talk about, what not to talk about. A week or two later, Sue and I were asked to speak at a YSA ward in the Taylorsville. It was at the Salt Lake Community College. They had an institute, and then they had a church and several wards, YSA wards associated with the school. So we were asked to speak in one, and you know, sure. I brought this up. I didn't quote the apostle. I didn't talk about, you know, current leadership in the government. I just said, youth of Utah, you know, we're the ones that make the stand and defend the faith, defend the principles of the gospel and that kind of thing. It was probably one of the more benign, what I would think benign talks that I'd given, because I can be pretty fiery. Really, imagine that. Especially from a pulpit. I watched Billy Graham too much as a youth, but I loved the passion, and I'd bring it sometimes. But anyway, this one I just felt kind of, it was very benign. Well, that night, so that was Sunday. So Sunday night, about 10 o'clock at night, I get a phone call, and it's the one of the presidents. I'm not going to get too specific, but one of the presidents of the 70. A big guy, okay? And he called me and he said, did you say da-da-da-da? And I said, well, yeah, I refer. And he said, I just got a call from Public Affairs, and I will never get a phone call like that again. And you will never speak of that kind of stuff again from the pulpit. Never. I'm like, President, I was just like dumbfounded. I said, "Look, I'm on your team, but okay." I was I was so caught off guard. And just thinking in my mind, what did I say? What did I say? So apparently somebody in the congregation or even in the leadership of the bishopric, of the bishop himself, felt like what I said was inappropriate, called public affairs or their contact or whoever, everybody's connected. And then they called and chewed out one of the presidents of the 70 to get a handle on this rogue mission president saying all this stuff. And at the time, I was hurt and, dumbfounded and couldn't figure out what the heck, what just hit me. But as time went on, what the interesting thing was to me is that public affairs was the one that chewed out one of the presidents of the 70, who then chewed out me. so you have the owner who kicks the dog, and then the dog kicks the cat. I'm the cat, right? Or the mouse even, and then the mouse kicked. Sorry, I got flies and trucks around and all that, but some cool birds too, so that's good. Anyway, interesting how who. Let's just say this. My experience is there was a lot of the tail wagging the dog. A lot more of that than what you would think in the church. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just saying it's a reality. So my guess is based on some limited experience, is that there are paid people who are counseling Sister President Emily Freeman of what to say right now, because it really is going to either put a big spotlight on the church in a negative way, whether among members or whether among the alphabet folks, and then of course personally against her and all this. And this is what happens when we allow this woke agenda to creep into the church. And it has not just creeped in, it has established roots and branches and a trunk, and it's bearing fruit. And the fruit of that is Charlie Bird. He's the fruit of that. And it's a bitter fruit, in my opinion. It's a bitter fruit. Now look, this isn't a personal attack on him, like I don't want anything bad to happen to him or anything like that. But using the church to promote his what he wants to identify as, to me, is wrong. And for us as members to get sucked into that is even worse. And these are the very things that are going to happen. This is going to cause a lot of issues. Now, people that aren't in Utah, people that aren't, very close to the Salt Lake experience, you'll probably go, it's not that big of a deal, not that big of a deal. But I don't know what's going on. It sounds like a bunch of dogs, but with President Freeman being there, it is going to have an effect. With her overwhelming support for this young man, and how she's going to deal with that is going to be very, very interesting. My guess is her lips will be sealed. Her lips will be sealed. That'll be the safest way to do things. But who knows? Who knows where it's going to turn out? I bring it up because it's important to us. It's important to us as members of the church to defend the faith, to proclaim our loyalty, not only to the faith, but to Christ and his teachings, his very beginning teachings in the garden, along with the Father. The other day, I performed a wedding between two missionaries that served in our mission, that found each other. They got married. They wanted or needed or whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but they asked if I could do the wedding, and I did it. I got certified online as a minister because I didn't have a calling that would justify it within the church, and I felt fine about it because they're civil marriages. It's not a big deal, but it was interesting. It was interesting. I think it's in Genesis chapter 2, right at the beginning, and it said, "Therefore shall a man leave his mother and father, or father and mother, and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh." That's not word perfect, but it's close. And the two key words in there are leave and cleave, and become one flesh. This is intimacy. This is multiply and replenish the earth kind of thing. And the very next verse in that is that the very next verse, it says that Adam and Eve found that they were naked. And I use this in part of the ceremony just because it's kind of my personality, but you know, that is, as soon as they leave and cleave, they find themselves naked, you know, together. And that's how it should be. That's the plan. And Christ was involved in that plan right from the get-go. And when we try to alter that plan with perversions and very, very unhealthy lifestyles that promote depression, anxiety, thoughts that you want to be done away with, all those things. And now the big thing with the tran, I posted on my last video in the comment section, and I pinned it, so it's the first one. It's about a 10-15 minute video from Megyn Kelly. Now, Megyn Kelly, you know, she was on Fox News, and I think she went to CBS or something like that. You know, not my favorite person as far as political leanings. East Coast, liberal, I wouldn't say leftist, but liberal. Well, you should hear what she has to say about pronouns and about this whole thing, especially about the T part, the T of the alphabet. It's you know, at first it was like, hey, two consenting adults, or one consenting adult, one adult that says, you know, I think I'm this. You know, it's like I was thinking the other day. So if a guy thinks he's a woman, but he keeps his male parts, and then he marries a woman, so is he, and they engage in the wild thing, is the woman a lesbian that is a woman, and is the guy that is a T is no longer a T, he's actually a lesbian even though he has male parts? Or is he a now, yeah, so is he not a transgender, but he's actually a lesbian because he's with a woman? This is a perversion. And my daughter made a really interesting comment, and it's just as plain as, you know, plain as plain, is that all these societies that existed throughout time, they all got to this point before they destruction. We look at the Roman Empire as probably the most documented example of this and how perverted they all came. Sue and I have been to, and many of you have probably been to Pompeii, where Mount Vesuvius blew its top, covered this wicked, gross city in ashes. And to see, look, I wouldn't recommend it, and don't take kids for sure, but virtually everything you can imagine. There were things I didn't imagine. I saw, and I was just like, whoa, you see it. The perversions that were involved. This isn't a new thing. In fact, I think in President Kimball's book that is no longer at Deseret book, The Miracle of Forgiveness, he talks about this. He talks about Pompeii and the volcano, Mount Vesuvius, preserving the perversion. I have a theory on that perhaps Paul, and maybe Peter, but perhaps Paul, because the timing is pretty dang close, might have dusted his feet on that city, and that Mount Vesuvius was caused to explode, to cover the wickedness from the eyes of God. Bad, nasty stuff. And this is where we're at as a society. It's bad. And yet we are, in my opinion, we're getting tricked into using love and acceptance and don't be confrontational and all these smooth words to allow this seed to be planted, not only within us as individuals, but within the organization of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And this seed has sprouted, and it has grown into a plant, and now we're seeing the bitter fruit of that. God bless. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your great comments and support and love. Things are going good here in Texas. Life is not without its challenges, but we are so blessed. We are so blessed, and part of that great blessing is you good folks. So we will carry on. We will continue to talk about these issues that face us today in these latter days, the last of the last days. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye.